Hello, grade 10. Here is the first part of your personal project writing guide for the report. I know many of you are ready to get started on this report, and some of you have started already. If you've started the report already, use this guide as a revision guide for yourself to go back and make sure you've included everything you need, and that will hopefully help you out, know that you're on the right track with your report. So today I will just focus on looking at part A, investigating and writing for that. You'll have a week to work on part A of the report, submit it next Monday, and then I'll put out the part B writing guide at that time. So general information about the report and what it must include. You need a title page and table of contents. You'll have the 4 sections in the body of the report: investigating, planning, taking action, and reflecting, a works cited page, and your appendices, which are the process journal excerpts. And I'll go into more details about how you include those and what they look like. So the word count for this is 1,500 to 3,500 words. It does not include your appendices, and it also does not include your internal citations, those in-text citations that you have from research or that will reference your appendices. You should have a size 12 font, something reasonable, Times New Roman, Arial, Calibri, please no Comic Sans, okay? Use section headings, which I've marked in the guide, so it should be easy to find. It should sound professional, but you can use I because this is a report on your personal project. So in a lot of academic writing, you want to avoid using the first person, I. But for this project, it's absolutely necessary because it is your personal project, but still make it sound professional. You need to write in the past tense because you did do this in the past, and please use MLA format to cite your sources, and I'll include a link to guidance for making sure you're using MLA format. But if you're using Noodle Tools, which hopefully you are, that should really help this process out. So some frequently asked questions is, how long does the report have to be? Okay, it comes out to about 800 words per section, a little bit less. So that'll help you balance out as you're writing each section of the report. Do I submit my process journal? You're going to submit up to 10 pages of evidence from your process journal. Okay, and I'm going to show you some details about how you choose those as you're writing the report. Here's an example. So in section A, if you're discussing your topic and your goal, you may write something like I have below, and you'll see that it talks about the goal kind of being unfocused, but then meeting with the supervisor and working through the goal, and then it references in text right here. This is an in-text reference. See Appendix 1. Then at the end of the report, we could go in, and your grader will do this. Your grader will go and actually look at Appendix 1 to see if it shows the evidence that you are claiming that you did. So for the title page of your report, it must include this information: your name, give your project a title, the word count of the report, the school name, the school code, and the date. Okay? It could include, and hopefully will include at some point, 1 to 3 pictures of your final product. Of course, this depends on what your product or outcome is. It's a little difficult to take pictures of certain things, I realize. You also need to have a table of contents, and you want to record the page number of where each section of your report begins. One tip to keep it looking nice and easy to edit is to use an actual table in your document to create your table of contents. So I thought I'd show you this. So I've created a sample document with a little bit of a template for the title page and the table of contents. And what I've done is inserted a table, and you can see I took out the borders of the table to make it look neat, which is really easy to do by just doing that sort of 2-finger click or right click, depending on what type of computer you're using. And you can actually just go into the borders and shading option within Word and select none. It makes it really easy to edit it as you complete the report. It's good to go ahead and put it in as you begin, and then you can do like I did and just put a little number sign in place for where you have your page numbers. So a little more about the appendices, okay? This is a maximum of 10 pages, okay? So it needs to take up 10 pages. Now you can put more than one sample from your process journal on each page, but you really want to make sure that you choose wisely and don't crowd the pages. So you're not going to include every sample from your process journal, okay? You just want evidence proving that yes, you did this. So for example, in part A, it asks you to talk about your research skills. You may include that you actually did OPVL analysis on your sources. And if you did this in your notes, include one of your best samples of that in your process journal. You won't include all of your research notes within the actual appendices of the report, just a sample. Okay? You can reference an appendix more than once in the report. So say one of your samples shows both research skills and organization, or self-management skills and communication. You can actually say, see Appendix 4 or see Appendix D if you prefer to use letters to label them. And you could reference it in more than one place. And this will really help you sort of maximize the use of those 10 pages. Okay? On the next couple of pages, I've shown a list of what you might include. Okay? I do recommend that you build these appendices as you go. So once you talk about something within the report, find that evidence in your process journal and go ahead and put that sample and label it as what appendix it is and create that in-text reference to it. If you try to wait and do this at the end, I think you'll find that it's a lot more time consuming, and you'll have to go back and actually find where to put the references within the text, because you should specifically say, see the appendix. So your reader can easily say, well, how do I know that the student actually did what they claimed in the report? Oh, I can go look at the appendix that they've mapped me to right here in the report. So the next couple of pages you'll find within the writing guide just give you ideas for some samples. This is something that was actually on the website as well, so hopefully it's not new information, but it gives you some ideas of things you can include as evidence for these different areas of the criterion. And there are 2 pages of those, and this comes straight from the MYP Further Guidance from Projects. One more sample of how you could reference your report, and this is a report from last year that did pretty well. Okay, so from her report, she talks about the changing of her ideas and how she drafted this. And this is actually just a small section of her Appendix B, but this is you can see that she discusses it. She puts an in-text reference here to Appendix B, and then she shows in the appendix, which is labeled clearly on her at the end of her report, you can sort of see her process. Now, she actually used her Appendix B for several different things throughout the report. It took up a whole page of her appendix with different things about how she drafted, but she also used it to show the knowledge and skills she developed later in the report. So this is a great example of how you can really maximize the use of what you put in your appendix. So on to report writing. So part A is all about investigating, and you can see with this nice obnoxious arrow right here, this is the heading of your report. So when you go in to start writing, I start formatting at the beginning. So what I did was go ahead and I made myself a template to work with to make sure that when I start typing, I know that I'm set to go. I'll share this template with you guys through ManageBack if you want to use this and know that I've already got some of the stuff formatted for you. So I've got my table of contents, and then to get to the end of this, I didn't just push the return key or the enter key over and over again. Instead, what I did is I insert a page break. Okay? So inserting a page break means that any editing I do here is going to not impact and move the text on the next page, okay? So anytime I go to a new section, I insert a page break instead of just repeatedly hitting that return key. So for part A, I went ahead and I put my title, okay, my heading for it. I have a subtitle, which is goal and global context, which you can see right here is labeled as your subheading. And I also have done double spacing, okay? So to double space, in Word, you can just change it here. In Pages, it's going to be over in your side format bar. All right, and then now that it's double spaced, I'm ready to just start typing. I'm going to tab over to indent the first line of my paragraph and then start typing my report. When I'm ready to move on to the next subheading, then I'll list that subheading and go to the next line. If you notice, I haven't done anything fancy with the font here. If you want to bold it or if you want to play with the sizes a little bit, that's fine, but don't feel the need to change it a lot. The simpler it is, the easier the flow will be for your reader. So in Part A, investigating, you can see that you have a checklist here of exactly what you need to include for the goal and global context section. Okay, this is where you'll discuss the goal, why it was meaningful to you, if you made changes during the project. Okay, maybe you decided your goal was a little bit too ambitious and you need to cut back a little on it. This is where you'll discuss all of that. You should have at least one reference to your appendix in this section, the goal and global context section. The next subsection of Part A will be your prior knowledge. Talk about this. Please don't say, I had no prior knowledge. You had some skills in place that helped you for this. Maybe not specifically related to the subject you decided to research or something you're doing, but what approaches to learning, what skills did you have in place from the MYP that helped prepare you for this, okay? What subject groups did you do something like this in? Be specific about that. For your research skills, talk about what you already knew how to do, but really talk about the ones you developed through the process, okay? And on the next page of the guide, I sort of have a list of some of the research skills that you can look at and think about which ones maybe that you were able to hone in and develop. And I think what's interesting about Personal Project is that a lot of this isn't about gathering sources and creating citations. A lot of it is really sort of action research. You're looking at products, more like what you have done through your design classes. So talk about how is that different from maybe what you've done in the past, or did that make it an easier process for you, okay? If you did share anything with your peers through this project, then you'll notice that there are several places in the writing guide that say how you have shared your research skills to help peers with more practice. If you didn't do that, then that's fine. You can leave that, of course, little checkbox off of your report, but it is something to consider. How did you collaborate with others to support their learning as well? You'll see here that you must include a works cited page in your final report. You need to cite where you got this information. Now, if you interviewed somebody or did an observation, yes, you do need to include that on a works cited page. And depending on the project you did, you're going to have a varying number of sources on this page. So if you have specific questions about your research, email those directly to me, and I can guide you on how to best create this works cited page to include in your final report. Finally, you'll see here's the list of the research skills, okay? And I've even given you some prompting questions to help you write this section. This is where you're discussing one of your major ATL skill sets. So go ahead and make sure that you take the time to be specific and reference the appendix. So you'll see here that it sort of gives you a scale of your higher and lower challenges. We will actually, when we score your report, we'll be looking at, are you working in this higher level of challenging for your research skills? So take a look at these and see if you're really creating references and citations. Are you analyzing and interpreting information? This would be through your OPVL source analysis. Okay? Are you organizing your notes? Okay? Are you being ethical in your use of information? Are you looking at how a different media source might influence the research you've gotten? Are you varying these sources to make sure that you're not just including a one-sided bias? Now, some of these may not be relevant to your topic, so you're going to have to make a judgment about how you include that. The last thing is, are you understanding and implementing intellectual property rights? Okay, so any images or things that you've included in your final product or outcome, are you taking into consideration using like fair use images, open source, and things like that? Discussing those challenges or those actions you took, those decisions you make during the report, that's really going to help to make sure that you're proving that, yes, I had skills before, but I've also developed these research skills that I was able to apply this to my project. So that's all of part A of the writing guide. Like I said, you'll have a week to complete this and submit just part A to the Manage Back calendar Dropbox that I have added. Make sure to do that before next Monday, and then I will sort of take a look at your progress and let you know if you need to make any changes as you begin part B. Good luck.